Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Jeremy Thieroff.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're good. How are you doing?
Good. Very well.
Awesome. Well, let's get this show started. So tell us a little bit about you. What do you actually do?
So I am a real estate agent with the Brian Riley team at Select Realty. I have been an agent for a little over 2 years now. And I love it. I can't say enough good things. I wish I'd gotten into the business 20 years ago, in fact.
Nice.
So,
What'd you do before real estate?
I did a lot of things. So I have this tendency to hold jobs for a really long time. My first job I ever had, I had for 12 years.
Huh.
And then I worked at my sister's chiropractic office for 14 years.
Huh.
And I was a therapy assistant there. And then during that time, I got my licensure in nutrition. So I actually had a nutrition counseling business as well. And I was also a wedding officiant on the side just because I liked helping people. I've actually done over 130 weddings for couples as well. So yeah, there's people who I've helped them, I've married them to each other, and then I've helped them buy a house. So I'm going to be the godfather of the kid too.
Right.
So yeah, it's cool. It's a nice tie-in.
That's
Nice.
awesome. When you first got started in real estate, how did that first transaction go for you?
What's funny is the first transaction was somebody who was actually a patient in the chiropractic office I worked in prior to that. So I was very fortunate being there 14 years in the North Hills area, which, our office is located out of. It's around where I live. Our practice would see over 400 visits a week. So, and these are people that would come for years. So I've known people that way for years and years and years. So without even realizing it, I had established my name to some degree. And working with Brian, the client was actually someone he had been working with. And then I helped them with the buying process. And when I saw her, I was like, oh, hey, and she was like, you're doing this now? I'm like, yeah. So that was actually my first transaction. And it inspired me to make sure that a lot of people knew what I was doing, who I used to see on a pretty regular basis there, which has been a boon for sure. So
Yeah, definitely. How did that go for your second one? Did it kind of transition into another client after that you knew previously, or was it someone brand new?
no, the second one was a friend of my wife, and which in turn ended up being my third one because they were looking for a place and then they had a place to sell. And honestly, after that, it was really, really funny because I was getting into the business, and like you get your license and you start with a company and you don't have like 10 people run up to you and go, great, help me sell my house. Right. So for like 3 months, I'm just panicking. Right. And I'm doing side work. I'm doing like tile jobs and grout jobs and like Ryan and Heartland homes and all this stuff. I'm like, I can't do this full time, blah, 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 blah. And there were days where I sat in my office and I just looked at my computer like I'm looking at it now. And I was just like, what are we doing? And I had no idea. And, I knew Brian Riley. I knew him prior to working at Keller Williams. I didn't know he was there when I joined Keller Williams, which we were at together initially. And he happened to be looking for a buyer's agent. And I interviewed for it because I was like, I want to get started. I want to get moving here. And we hit the ground running. After that first transaction, that was towards the end of 2019. And by the end of 2019, it was whatever. But in 2020, my first full calendar year, I ended up doing 29 transactions.
Wow.
That first full year. And now, I mean, I didn't check my numbers today, and I'm assuming that a couple that we have are going to close. I'm at 43 already this year.
Wow.
So
You
we just
doubled.
keep growing by leaps and bounds. So honestly, for me, it was like, as soon as that first one happened, I had enough confidence. And in the second one, it was by knowing people and all that. But then those happened like bang, bang. And I got through some tough negotiations on those. And it's really, after that, it was like, I had enough confidence to where I know that I can make things happen for a client if they're going to put their trust in me to try and make it happen. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome that you're doubling it that fast.
yeah, it's insane. I know that I don't know that that's like going to be the way it is forever, but if nothing else, I'm getting a lot of experience very quickly. And, I know that we as a team collectively have been able to work through a lot of this stuff together. And I'm really grateful for that because I can't imagine handling this kind of workload on my own, honestly. So it's very, very busy. And some people would complain about that, but I'm certainly not. So
Yeah, the market's moving quick, so you got to be on top of it right now.
big time. Big time. My wife laughs because she's like, people will be out to dinner and people will be like, oh yeah, well, when you have a day off next. My wife is like, he doesn't have a day
Yeah,
off.
when is that? Do you got to
Yeah,
block that off for
I don't
next
know.
year?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Like we went on vacation and I was like, oh, we're not going to have a signal. And then we had a signal so I could like answer emails and stuff. And I was like,
Hmm.
you don't work a little bit. So, there's no day off. You're always on call. But I mean, it's cool and it's exciting and it's not boring. Like I would be bored if it was routine and mundane. That's not
Yeah.
for me anymore. So
When you first started out on that team that you're on currently, is there any advice that maybe you got from Brian or anybody else on your team that has just stuck with you for the last year?
not any particular piece of advice.
Okay.
It's everything. I'm the kind of person where there's people who can learn by reading something, there's people who can learn by watching something or hearing something. And I learn best, I think, by just being immersed in it and having to problem solve quickly. And Brian's been doing this a few more years than I have. And Brian went from, it's my understanding, and he would speak better to this because it's his career, but he got things moving pretty quickly. And you know, I was very fortunate to learn under him. Whereas if something came up that I didn't expect, he would have an answer for that. So now moving
Yeah.
forward, I don't, I pay attention to that because I have to get through that obstacle. This business is a lot of hurry up and stop. It's like you need an answer to something, you need this paperwork, you need this signature, you need whatever, blah, 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 send it off and then wait 5 days for somebody else to do their job. Right. So that kind of pressure, like I'll absorb that. If it's like slow, if we were having a 1 hour lecture from somebody who's the best in the field at this, 20 minutes in, I'm tapping out. I just can't. Right. But in being in the business and in it like that and having Brian there, like, hey, what does this mean? What does this do? What is this? And there's other people too, like, Sandy Smith is somebody who like I could ask a question of, and Karen Stoffer, who we worked with, and now people like Chris Graham, who we work with. And one of the things you learn is in this field, the best agents are the ones that like will willingly give you advice and not try and like block you out from things. Like I've encouraged people to get their real estate license, and my wife is always like, isn't that competition? I'm like, no, there's enough for everybody. Like good people will do good things, and I want people to succeed, and I want good agents out there because
Yeah.
just like any other field, there's good agents, there's not good agents, and I want to work on the other side with good agents and not ones who are going to make my life and my client's life and their own
Yeah.
clients' life more complicated. So
Yep.
That's what makes a great team.
yeah, I'm very, I say it all the time because I do work really hard, but like I'm also very, very fortunate.
Hmm.
I ended up in a place where I was able to interview for that position and I got it, and I didn't know that I would. And now I'm under a really good learning tree and going through the process. And just in a couple of years, I can, I don't think it's arrogant to say like I've learned to be a pretty good agent, and I'm really proud of that. So, and I've had a great
Wow.
support system.
Nice
So,
work. Yeah. I'm proud of that for
yeah.
you too. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kind of switching the questions around a little bit. Over the last couple of years, what do you think the worst property is that you've been to? Is there any that stick
Uh,
out?
well, okay, so the worst property isn't one that was like disgusting or beat up or had a ton of
Okay.
bugs or whatever. Like I walked into houses where like you could literally see where like you could see outside. Like I could put my arm through the wall and touch the
Wow.
exterior, right? Yeah, but that place is listed at $30,000. So you know what you're getting into, right?
Right.
That that's your expectations of that are a certain way. The worst property I've ever been into wasn't a bad property. It was it was the worst property I'd seen because the owners of that property did so much to make it look so terrible that I'm
Wow.
like, I have no idea what your thought process was. Like, it's one thing to decorate. Like, my wife and I have redone our house top to bottom. We have a 130-year-old house in Bellevue. It was a piece of garbage when we bought it. We've made it look pretty beautiful so far, and we're really proud of that. And we decorate a lot, and it's not everybody's taste, but I walked into this one place. It was this huge, massive, beautiful house, great piece of property, structurally amazing. I mean, every room was big and open. And what happens sometimes is people will take large square footage, big open spaces like that, and they look at that as a green light to fill it with as much crap as they can. And this place was stuffed to the gills with every gaudy piece of furniture and everything that made you feel like you were like every room was cramped. Meanwhile, it was like
Wow.
3,000 square feet. It was massive, but they made everything feel tight. And the weirdest thing was, on top of, above, in every bedroom, above every bed, you don't think much about light fixtures in your bedroom. It's a light. It's usually a ceiling fan, right? Whatever. In every bedroom, they had a chandelier that was like the size of my torso over the
Wow.
bed. Every single, and they weren't like even nice chandeliers. They were these big, gaudy, gothic, like scary looking chandeliers. And the whole time I'm just going like, I would lay in bed every night and worry that the thing would come down and crush my head.
That's
And
what I
just
was
going,
just thinking. What if that fell
yeah,
on
oh my God.
somebody?
It was insane. And it was like, to me, that was the worst property I ever saw, because they actually thought they were adding value to their property probably, and they were devaluing their property just by like the god awful taste that they had and what they were doing. So I still laugh about it because I put something about this one place I was in, and the couple I was looking with, I'm friends with them on Facebook, and they were like, was it as bad as that place that we went to? And I was like, no, nothing's gonna beat that. So
Did that one end up
that was
selling pretty fast though, even though it kind of felt
no,
no?
no. That's the thing. That's what was keeping it from selling. You can
Yeah.
go into a place and see that it's a wonderful home and it's priced fairly, and like in your brain, you're like, okay, why is it not selling? Is it something in the basement because nobody posts basement pictures? Is it something with the foundation? Is it something with whatever? And like literally everything in the house was great, but the way that they had it laid out, I walked in there and I was like, well, this is why this house isn't selling. Eventually it did, but I can't tell you what for. I can't remember the address, but
Yeah.
it was weird. There, I mean, there was another one that was a close second because it literally looked like somebody had like joined witness protection and
Wow.
left the house. And I was like, there were like checkbooks and credit cards wherever and stuff scattered everywhere, and like a hot tub where the water was left behind for
Oh,
who knows how long. And yeah, that was gross. But this was the worst property only because this was actually like a nice property that they disfigured it. Is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, and
So
it's hard for people walking in who want to potentially buy the home to see past some of that, even if it's just gaudy furniture. It's hard for some
totally.
people to see past it.
Well, totally. And I tell all my buyers, like, you're going to go into a place and you're going to probably want to paint, and you're probably going to want to change some flooring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to love the carpet. You might not like the floors they have, or you might not like that this room is blue. Why would they do that? Well, who cares about that? That's not a big deal. It's hard to see past, like you said, stuff like that, where you walk into a place and it's just, you can't escape it. Like,
Yeah.
it was weird. And I'm like, you have to imagine properties with your stuff in it, or like
Mm-hmm.
the as a blank canvas that you can paint on and create. That sort of scenario, they just made it impossible to do so. Just impossible. It was a shame, unfortunately.
I know we
uh,
kind of already talked about a little bit of your goals earlier, but we didn't really touch on your full goals for the rest of this year and kind of going forward. So you've doubled what you had sold in the last year, which is
Almost.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any goals kind of finishing out this year and then going into the next year?
I have a lot of goals. So um, the way it's worked with me though, so a lot of my short-term goals I met. Like, I have zero debt besides my house and my car. My wife and I, we're already planning out the next 15 years of vacations. You know what I mean? So I'm in a much better place than I could have ever really imagined. So as far as like my professional goals are concerned, my professional goals are short term. So in redoing this house that we've redone, and it's a 2,000 square foot house, and it's 3 levels, and I mean, we've really redone it. I'm very fortunate that one of my best friends is my contractor also. It's a guy named Ben. And Ben and I have discussed doing other houses as far as properties, because I
Okay.
know areas that are good. I know what's good with bones of a house, and so does he. And we can walk through these
Yeah.
places together. So we're talking about establishing, I hate the word flip, but doing flips and that sort of thing. And even then, you know, I have some say in how we sell it and how we present it after it's done and what we do. And this has been a great experience for us because, you know, we're 3 years into this, and we've made a lot of progress, and we've made it a wonderful home. And I want to do that moving forward. And if I can make some money off of it and he can make some money off of it and use his talents, it's great. Um, as far as my actual, you know, regular real estate job as well, I'm not. Everybody puts a numeric goal on things, and I get
Hmm.
that because it gives you something to push towards, right? Um, I don't. I'm not doing that. My goal this year was 50, and this is probably the last time I'm going to draw a strict numeric goal. Would I like to
Okay.
do more than that? Of course. If I don't do more than that, would I consider that a failure? Absolutely not. My goal moving forward professionally is to continue to get better at what I'm doing, to hopefully take on more of a leadership role in what I'm doing, um, to expand my circle. And honestly, I mean, whether I do 10 transactions or I do 100 transactions, I want everybody to walk away from it feeling as though um, they got their money's worth, and they know I put in the time and effort that they deserve, because everybody does, whether they're buying a $50,000 house or a $500,000 house. I want them to know that I've worked as hard as I can for them, because I want to do this. You know, I'm 44 years old. I want to do this for 30 more years. I mean, I can do that, and I can do that just on the fact that, like, I feel comfortable saying the vast majority of people who I've been fortunate enough to work with so far can walk away from this and say, he worked really hard for us. We would never use anybody else. He's the best, you know.
Yeah.
And I can't say that everybody would say that, but I can say that, like, uh, I feel comfortable saying most of them would, and I want to continue to do that. I want to help good people find good homes, and I want to see what they do with their homes and how their kids grow up in those homes. And I made friends in this business doing that, and it's awesome. Like, that's the
Yeah.
most rewarding thing from this, more so than what's in my bank account.
Yeah. And then once you make those connections with the first time home buyers and you see they have families and you get to their second home that you get for them, maybe next is
Yeah.
like a graduation party. Who knows? Just
Yep.
continuing
Yep.
that
And
relationship.
and they're friends. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always surprised by how many referrals I'm already getting for
Oh, yeah.
things. Because I, I'm I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm very self-critical, right? And I'm very self-aware. And I'll go through every transaction and be like, I could have done this better, I could have done that better, or we could have been more responsive here, or whatever. And the next thing I know, somebody's calling me and going like, hey, yeah, so and so referred me to you. They said you were wonderful. And I'm like, that's the best thing. That's the most rewarding thing from
Hmm.
this, because, you know, I can go on a million vacations, but at the end of the day, you know, my reputation and and being in service of others is really important to me. That's a great part of this job, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely. If you could start over today with all the knowledge that you have, is there anything that you would do differently?
Um, oh God. No,
Okay.
honestly, no. I like, I want to, as you can see, I like to talk a lot, but no, I mean, I'm again, I'm going to say this word fortunate very much, but I'm so fortunate all the time that, like, I love what I'm doing. I love how it's gone so far. I have no complaints. I mean, would I hope for some of the transactions to have been smoother with certain parts of it? Of course, everybody has that.
Hmm.
But, like, would I change what I've done? No. I as much as we are busy and I have to be on call, I also have time to do certain things. And I can sit down with you guys for a podcast on a Tuesday and then take my dog to get his nails trimmed and, you know, run around and do that sort of stuff. I'm not on a clock somewhere. Um, you know, I've accomplished a lot of financial goals, and I have stuff on the horizon that could be really promising. And, you know, I've not a thing I would change.
Sweet.
I love that I don't have to do some of the things that other agents have to do to get clients. Again, another thing I'm fortunate with. I just, people know me. I've been around. I've lived in this city my whole life. I made a lot of connections, and a lot of friends, and a lot of people who trust me to do a good job for them. And I'm grateful for that every day.
Awesome. Before we go today, how can people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold of me. So the easiest way, of course, is to text me or call me. My phone number is 412-559-6825. Another way is email, Jeremy, Jeremyt at myhomereality.com. Of course, just like everybody else on the planet, I have a Facebook page for my business. So you can look up Jeremy Thieroff Real Estate. I'll pop up. You can find me there. I mean, honestly, that's the easiest way. So
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I like talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was fun. Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at it? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars, guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.